Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kat?
I'm good. I'm all caffeinated up, so I'm extra good. Today is a big and important topic, connecting with your healthy psychological functioning. Maybe it sounds a little bit daunting, but the importance of this topic early on into this podcast series is to reassure listeners that your healthy psychological functioning is your natural state. It is not something that someone can give you. It is not something that you have to go out and buy. It is not something that you have to go out and find. You all have innate psychological mental health, okay? And things can cloud it up and overshadow it, but that is what this podcast is all about, is trying to bring awareness to your natural state and to the fact that you can tap into your healthy psychological functioning at any time if you know it exists. When a child is born, they come out as they come out. And for those of you that have your own children or around young children, it is just such a exquisite experience to watch young children, particularly very young children. They are happy 1 minute, crying the next minute, playing, laughing. Really, they come out with the sort of the purest mental space that you could imagine. You don't see a 3-year-old necessarily in therapy for that reason, when they feel things intensely, but then they get over things really quickly as well. There's no big narrative, there's no overthinking and doubting themselves. Our natural state is to rest in that healthy psychological functioning. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that this is overshadowed and eclipsed as we get older and have experiences. But I think it is important to flag this part of you that is always available to you to tap into. Some people might call it their wisdom, their higher self, or their awareness. It doesn't matter the language we use, but it's the part of you that even when things have gone wrong in inverted commas, it's the part of you that can keep balanced and can keep your cool even in those really challenging situations, okay? So this includes how you make your life, okay? When we don't have thoughts about how things should be or how they shouldn't be, and when we're not judging, comparing, analyzing, troubleshooting, when we're not in that mode of thinking, our healthy functioning is there. And that functioning state is not a state of ecstasy. It is not a state of pure joy. Well, maybe it is for some people, but it is. And why I keep trying to point people to this place is because I think because it's so simple and natural, we might overlook it. Strong emotions make us really present. Strong joy, excitement, up that end of the spectrum versus disappointment, upset, rage down the other end. When you consider our natural resting state is a state of acceptance and ease, this is a wonderful place to spend a lot of time.
So you're referring to grounding.
You can reach that space through grounding.
Right.
So when people say mindfulness, meditation, that they can tap into that part of themselves. But what I'm pointing to is this idea that mindfulness is a practice, meditation is a practice, but there's a way of being in the world that is like you are accessing what you can in meditation or stillness, but it's the way that you can live and live out your life, go to work like that, interact with people like that, play with your children like that. And it's not fireworks and sunshine and rainbows. It's just an okayness that we should all move towards.
Right.
We talk a lot on this podcast about there are no good and bad feelings. We give those labels, right? I would prefer to feel happy. I would prefer to feel joy, obviously. But when I resist other emotions, that is when it gets problematic. So when we're resisting an emotion, this takes us away from that healthy psychological functioning. This is an idea that you know it when it's so hard to describe it because you can't describe it like excitement, okay? You can't describe it like sadness. You can't describe it like goodness. It is just an isness.
Okay.
Of grounding is probably a beautiful way to explain it. So if I can talk listeners through this now,
Yes.
unless they're driving, if we were to ground into this and try to tap into, and I do this in session just to reground and to reorientate a person that might be distressed or might just be in overthinking mode and needs some clarity.
You could do that with me.
Yeah, you want to do it?
Yeah, I am so overthinking assessments.
Okay, good.
You know.
Let's do this. Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
and you've just spoken to the thing that clouds up your healthy functioning the most,
Yep.
and that is your thinking mind. Like we've talked about before, 70,000 thoughts a day. We overuse and overemphasize that aspect of our mind, but it is not the only thing that exists for us to tap into. Thinking is great when we need to analyze a problem, work on an assignment, solve an equation. This is all wonderful use of our thinking minds. But when we let our minds run free, and like we say, like your mind unattended is like a toddler with a knife, it can go amok. Okay. So with your example, I know you're sitting some important assessments with your
Yeah,
university.
so just to set the sort of context,
Go.
I'm doing my master's in psychology. I don't know why, but I am.
She is.
I'm thinking my life choices. When the assessments are due and they're long and they come very fast and they're due yesterday almost, it feels. And yes, my mind is racing.
Okay. So let's do this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Your 2 feet need to be on the floor. Yeah.
Ooh.
Good. And why we do that is because this is obviously a more grounded position, and you want to feel like you're back in a chair or leaning against something, your hands hanging loosely by your side, your shoulders are back and down, and you want to breathe 3 times deeply. I'll let you do that. And why therapists are so interested in telling you to breathe is because this regulates your nervous system. So when we're overstimulated for whatever reason, bringing ourselves back to a state where our body is in rest, not fight or flight mode, is really important. Okay. So once you do, you could do box breathing.
I'm going to do a podcast on breath
We
work,
will.
actually, because
We
it
will.
is so important.
Yeah.
And something so important to teach your kids.
And so when you've done that, and how are you feeling already just from putting...
Cleansed.
It's like
Yeah.
a new lease on life.
Absolutely.
And obviously this isn't a magic pill, and I
No.
don't ever want to say, oh, just go and breathe and you'll be fine.
Back to what you were saying, it's the simple things. We make sometimes mental health so complicated.
That is our biggest message, because anything that I'm going to advocate and encourage our listeners to do, and anything that I think is applicable, has to be versatile. It has to be easily accessible in every moment, because life is in every moment.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't all be running to the therapist's office.
Afford it
We can't
either.
afford it even if we wanted to. So whatever tools we're teaching, they're transportable. Yvonne's regrounded. And I can see, I'm with her now, but I can see that her whole demeanour has shifted completely. We want to pay attention to the thinking mind and get some distance from the overactive mind. Yvonne is a busy mum. She has 3 kids. She's got a family. She works. She's doing university. Like so many of us, there's a lot on her plate. There are a lot of plates in the air.
And
okay?
we're running this podcast.
And these are all conscious choices that she's made. Nonetheless, when things can trip us up is when we feel overwhelmed. What I want to encourage you to notice is that if you are feeling good and okay, what you have on your plate sometimes feels very manageable. And the next week, when you're in a funk and frazzled, it's not that the quantity of what you have to do has changed, but your headspace has changed.
Absolutely. There are times when I know how much I've got on my plate and I
Yeah.
just think I'm a superwoman.
Exactly.
Look at me.
Exactly.
And right now, when a deadline is nearing and I've got all those things that, yes, are my choices, I'm thinking, oh God, I don't think I can cope.
But you know what you can't cope with? You can't cope with your thoughts about what's happening.
Let's unpack that.
This is a really fine line to tread in therapy and in sessions with others, because it can feel like I might be saying that your problem isn't real, or this is not urgent, or this is not important. No, everything you are saying is real, but I want you to tap into the part of you that allows you to operate at the highest version of yourself. You will still have the deadline tomorrow or whenever it is. The assessment is still due. You still have to take the kids to school. You still have to honour all your obligations. But the version of you that is available to you is the version of you that can do this easily in her stride with ease and grace, versus the version of you that is leaning back and resisting what is, and overthinking and overanalyzing and over-worrying and resisting whatever it is. And it always comes back to this.
It is. You're absolutely right. It is exactly where, and I know, like yourself, just because we are in the mental health space, I am at the point where I'm over analyzing every detail and making it a bigger thing.
Thank you so much for saying this, because this as well as I do. And this is where we're two real humans as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yes.
even though I know all of this, do I fall into this trap? I do.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, of course. Like this is,
Of course. But what Von just highlighted there is, if you can think thoughts that could turn up your anxiety, is that possible? Could you think if I gave you a few more worrying thoughts, could you turn up the intensity of your worry?
Absolutely.
What would be one of the thoughts that would turn up your intensity?
On top of that, my nanny has started driving and she's running my 3 kids around Dubai with the traffic that it is there, and what really then can turn it up to the next level.
What?
When my kids fight.
Oh, yeah.
My younger two.
Dynamics.
They're
Okay,
like,
beautiful.
not twins, but my God, they act like.
So what Yvonne just did and what she demonstrated, she turned up the volume of her thinking. Meaning, if you can turn it up, then you're also in control of turning it down. What you did is you thought something that made it worse. So what do you need to undo it?
I need to turn it down and give evidence as to why
There's another truth. And even better, and this is where we're going with our listeners ultimately, we talked about in an earlier episode the ability to dismiss a thought. This is a natural ability which stops us becoming overwhelmed. Von can sit there and think about this worrying situation, or what is available to her is to simply dismiss the thought, not analyze it, not turn it down, not anything. She could choose, when she recognizes it, this is just a thought and I can let it go.
And it will pass.
And it will pass.
I don't need to give it attention.
This is right. When she does the opposite and turns it up, she's over-analyzing, she's adding new detail, she's adding more worrying thoughts. Okay?
And what I do, and what most of us do, which gets us into that problem space, is we add in imagination.
Oh, yeah.
We orient ourselves to the future.
Correct. Which doesn't exist.
Yes.
A future that never comes.
That's right.
There's only now.
You only create the future in the now. I could just sit there and overanalyze that something could happen, but it hasn't. So
turn it down, dismiss it. The simplest thing we can do to get back to our healthy psychological functioning is to dismiss the thought. Thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are not reality. They're real thoughts, but your thoughts are not thoughts about reality. Reality cannot create a feeling in you. You create a feeling in you. 100% of the time, we are feeling our thoughts. We are not feeling the real world.
that is the pivot point of your life. The pivot point as in the quality of the mechanism you use to determine which thoughts and feelings you should listen to and which ones you ignore. That is the mantra that I go by. Obviously, as we were just talking, there are things that are going on and sometimes you're overanalyzing and you forget that. But if I just say that statement to the listeners one more time, the quality of your life depends on the mechanism you use to determine which thoughts and feelings you should listen to and which ones you should simply and it is, like you said, you can change the viewing or the doing. How you perceive it and how you respond to it. It has so much to do with the quality of where your thoughts are, behavior and action.
The reason we wanted to create this podcast to begin with is we're passionate about this subject, and I genuinely want people to have a richer, more enjoyable experience of their lives. And I know we're doing an upcoming episode just on this very topic, but the quickest way to get back to your psychological healthy functioning is to realize that you can't think your way to mental health.
Right.
You can't.
No.
Once you realize that you are lost in thought, you're chasing a train of thought, you are not tapped into your healthy functioning. Okay? We over-rely on a reality, a constructed reality in our minds. We're asleep. When we are lost in thought, we are unconscious.
Yes.
You are in a trance. You are in a story. You are not here. And the moment we realize we're there, you've come back now. You're back. You still have the same things to do tomorrow.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking about
you're
it.
not.
Subconsciously, it's always in the back of your head.
Yeah.
It's like that little knock at the door.
Shut up.
Hey,
What about me?
I'm still looming, but I've just stopped thinking about it completely.
Exactly.
And
Look at that.
And it's
Freedom. Yeah.
And I know to most people it sounds so simple. Oh, that sounds too. Try it.
Thank you.
Takes practice.
Someone said this to me, and I think it's really true. They said, a fish doesn't know it's in water. Meaning, people say, yes, I'm aware that I'm thinking. That thinking voice does not stop all day long. If you are listening to that voice, some people don't even know that's not really who they are. Like that chatterbox that is constantly going on in all of us is not the real. No, this is a fear-based, ego-driven voice that does not shut up. It just keeps talking and keeps finding problems and keeps comparing and keeps analyzing and keeps moving the goalpost. You'll be happy when, you'll be happy when, you'll be happy when, you'll be happy when. We've got all the things that were on our vision board 10 years ago. Am I happy when?
Yeah. The difference between the confident, effective people are those that don't listen to them. If you want to know the key to success, don't listen to that voice that says you can't.
Don't listen to the voice that is providing a constant commentary on your life. It is not the real you.
It is not.
And I'm going to leave it there. It's a big episode and it's something that I want people to reflect on.
Absolutely.
And regrounding does not need to be done as a partner. You can if you want to, but it is something that you can do anywhere, anytime, and you will notice in yourself an instant relaxing into you.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.